All right, guys, let's talk werewolves. More specifically, Wolfpack. This is a series that originally was marketed as a spin-off to Teen Wolf, but in all reality, it's not. It has nothing to do with the Teen Wolf series, does not share anything with that. It's a totally different universe, with the exception of the writer Jeff Davis, who also wrote Teen Wolf, is writing Wolfpack. And surprisingly, you can see some similarities in it, but it's a completely different take on the werewolf lore. As a matter of fact, he said he wrote this show specifically to address the werewolf lore because he got a lot of complaints from Teen Wolf fans that they wanted more of the actual lore and mythology of the werewolf in the show that they didn't get. So that's what he wanted to address here. So when you're watching this, be aware of that. It has nothing to do with Teen Wolf, and also be aware that this is not quite as kid-friendly as Teen Wolf. It's a lot more profanity, a lot more partial nudity that I think the viewing audience should be aware of. Now, with that being said, I think this was an okay show. I'm actually looking forward to season 2 because I feel like season 2 is going to give me what I wanted in season 1. Season 1 dragged on so much. This was such a slow build, especially for a season that only has 8 episodes. I thought I would get a faster paced show, get more information out there, let me know what's going on. And for the first 6 episodes, 6 out of 8 episodes, I was left with more questions than answers, and I wasn't a big fan of that. And I don't want to start this off as a negative review because there are positives to this. I just want to get a couple gripes out of the way first. That is one of my biggest things. I don't like when a show is so slow paced that I literally, after episode 2, had to force myself to watch the next couple. By the time we got to episode 6, or the end of episode 6, I was starting to get interested. Now I'm getting the things that I wanted out of this show. The characters are starting to make sense. The powers are starting to make sense. The mythology and the lore is starting to make sense. And this is what I wanted. There was just so much going on that didn't need to be going on. Now, I will say that because this is a totally different take on a werewolf, you do get an actual monster movie type werewolf. As a matter of fact, we get 2 different kinds of werewolves. We get the actual wolf and the monster werewolf, which is kind of cool. That's the only spoiler I'm going to really give you in this series. Now, the 2 main characters are Harlan and Luna. They are brother and sister. They are also werewolf. And I feel like their story could have been dove into a little bit more. They are what I'll essentially call the main characters. There are 2 others, Everett and Blake, but I feel like the main focus on the first season should have been more on Harlan and Luna and diving more into their background and their origin. And it just felt like the show jumped around a lot from person to person, to scenario, without really setting a good foundation for the show. Now we also have Sarah Michelle Gellar, who plays Kristin Ramsey. She is an arson investigator with some hidden agendas, and that is very apparent from the beginning. So her character leaves you wondering the entire time, what is she up to? Who is this person? Something's not right. So there is a huge guessing game here, and all of that does become very apparent about midway through the season. Now, there are some really strong points to the CGI, especially when it comes to the werewolf and transformations and seeing the action scenes. But I also want to say that there are some downfalls to the CGI as well that really could have been done a little bit better. But I guess you got to pick and choose where you put that money and where you want to focus on it. And focusing on the werewolf probably makes the most sense considering it is a werewolf-based series. Now, after a long, drug-out series, again, although it was only 8 episodes, Episodes 7 and 8 gave me everything I wanted. I got the action, I got the storyline, I got the connections with the characters. This is what I was hyped up about. I don't know why I couldn't have got more of it in the first 6 episodes. But now I'm actually pretty excited for the storyline now that everything's out in the open for season 2. It is interesting to see the comparisons between this and Teen Wolf because it was done by the same writer with a whole different take. Again, this was widely focused on the werewolf lore and not so much what we'll call a teen drama, so to speak. Now, I also have to add, this is a very heavily based LGBTQ show. As a matter of fact, I think there's only 1 or 2 straight couples in this entire show, and it's not done in a way to where it's written into the story and fits. It's written into the story forcefully. So that's a problem I had with this, is I don't like when something is forced into a show and it feels like an agenda, and that's what this is. To have something like that in a show that works with the story, I'm great with. There are tons of scenarios where that works. This one doesn't, because again, when you have a couple or maybe 2 couples, that's one thing. At least somehow make it work with the story. But this just, it's overbearing. But if you can look past some of the negatives about the show and force yourself through the first 6 episodes, because you will feel like you almost have to, season 2 looks promising. There seems to be way more action at the end of the season than there was in the first 2/3 of it, and it left off in a way that season 2 looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. So I'm going to give season 2 a shot. Hopefully it does pick up right where this left off and keeps with the faster pace action and lore that I wanted. I like the direction it was going. I like the werewolf lore. I like the CGI. I like a lot about it, but I feel like it just failed from poor writing. That's really what I feel was the major downfall to the show, was poor script writing. The dialogue was kind of crap at times. There were lines that I thought were really, really good, but majority of the time I was very disappointed with the dialogue, and I was like, this could have been done so much better. But I did notice in the last 2 episodes that I did enjoy, I felt the dialogue was a lot better, and I feel like it was almost a different writer in the last 2 episodes than the first 6. So I don't know if that's a trend that's going to continue into season 2, or if that just happens to be some weird coincidence. So we'll just have to wait and see. Overall, it was an okay series. I'm hoping that season 2 changes my mind, and this was just kind of like an opener to lay a few things out. But again, needed a little bit better writing. If you've seen it, let me know what you think down below. Was this a series that you enjoyed? Did you suffer through it? What are your thoughts? Drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button on your way out. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you at the concession stands.